popular way for people to make the Elder Scrolls Online more accessible for all kinds of players is through the use of one-bar builds. These builds will use the Oakensoul Mythic Ring to eliminate the need for bar swapping. While it does have the amount of skills that you can have at your disposal, it does give you plenty of permanent buffs to make up for it. Typically, we see one-bar builds delegated to heavy attack setups for group DPS or solo players, but tanks and healers can also make use of one-bar builds to simplify their rotation. My name's Doc, your host for all things healing, and in this video, I'll be creating a one-bar build for my fellow healers. Real quick though, one thing I want to preface before we actually get into the build is that, objectively speaking, one-bar builds will be a bit weaker than their two-bar counterparts. It's not to say that one-bar builds cannot be successful, because I do believe that this build is totally viable for the vast majority of content, but more so just to say that my suggestion would be to use this build as a stepping stone to work your way up to two-bar healing, if that is something that's possible for you. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the actual build. So, with this being a one-bar build, we will miss out on some buffs and debuffs for both ourselves and our teammates. So, the goal of this build is to maintain as many of our standard buffs and debuffs while also simplifying our rotation for the highest possible uptime we can get on both our skills and our sets. The main ways we'll be doing this is through our sets, Spell Power Cure and Powerful Assault. These are great support sets that can provide constant, easy to apply damage buffs to our teammates. Also, they're both fairly easy to acquire. You may just have to drop a little gold to get Powerful Assault. Then with our skills, we'll be trying our best to have as many synergies and important buffs as we can. Of course, I'll explain much more in depth as we go along. For now, let's talk about our race and preferred class. So, as always, I personally enjoy using Bretons for the extra sustain that they get from their passives. However, with this build only using half of the skills and plenty of time for heavy attacks, sustain won't be too much of an issue, so it may be worth it to use a race like Argonians for the extra healing. When it comes to class, it really doesn't matter. You can use this build on literally any class, but for the purposes of this video, I'll be using the Warden. The main reason is that, firstly, they're the best healing class in the game, but the other reason is that their class buff, Minor Toughness, is activated simply by healing someone. Unlike some other classes, such as Templars or Nightblades, you don't need a dedicated skill for applying your class buff, so that's one less buff that we have to worry about finding space for. For our attributes, as always, we'll want all 64 points into Magicka for that sweet increase to our healing. For our Mundus, I recommend using the Ritual for the extra healing. Since we'll be down a few skills, the extra healing could certainly make a difference in the long run. When it comes to food, I'd say anything that affects our max Magicka will be preferred. For this build, I actually ran the Jugged Rabbit Preserves. It's really cheap and easy to make, while also giving us a pretty large boost to our max health, Magicka, and stamina. This means that our heals will be stronger and will be a bit tougher to put down. For potions, it doesn't really matter, honestly. I think some spell damage potions would be great for a little boost to our healing numbers, though, like I said, honestly, whatever potion you want to use is totally fine. And now on to our champion points. If you've seen any previous build video that I've made, these will pretty much be unchanged, but we'll go over them anyway. So firstly, we're going to start off with From the Brink. If you or a party member happens to fall below 25% health, this little perk will grant them a huge damage shield when you heal them. This can be great for clutch saves if someone is about to go down. Next is Soothing Tide, and this will increase the amount of healing that our AoE heals do. Since we'll pretty much always have some sort of AoE heal up, this will be very nice to have. Next is Swift Renewal. This will increase the amount of healing that our heal over time effects do, and much like our AoE heal, the idea is that we'll have a couple of heal over times up pretty much the entire time. And lastly is Enlivening Overflow. Overhealing someone will grant them some extra recovery, and since we probably aren't going to be able to give our teammates intellect and endurance with this build, the next best way of giving our teammates a little boost to sustain is through Enlivening Overflow. Okay, so that was our blue champion points. Now on to our red champion points. Firstly, we're going to start with Boundless Vitality. This will give us a little boost to our survivability by giving us some extra health. It becomes even better since we're using a warden, and our heals will give us even more additional health. Next is Fortified, another little boost to our survivability by giving us some extra armor. It never hurts to, be a little harder to take down. Next is Rejuvenation, and this gives us some extra magicka, stamina, and health recovery. While sustain won't be much of an issue in this build, I still think the extra bonus is nice. And finally, we have Spirit Mastery. Now, ordinarily, healers won't be the ones going for revives, but this build is uniquely equipped to do so. With us only having 1 bar of skills to worry about, we can very easily get every heal over time, AoE heal down, everything that we need, and then revive someone before any of those skills actually run out. Speaking of skills, let's talk about those next. Like we mentioned in all our build videos, this build will assume you're a warden. If you are not a warden, then just any class skills that you happen to see, feel free to swap those out for some skills from your own class. So, what skills are we going to be using? Well, to start out, we are going to be using Echoing Vigor. It's an awesome heal over time skill in its own right, but the main reason that we'll be using this assault line skill is that this will be our main way that we activate the powerful assault set. I'll explain a bit more whenever we get into the sets, but know that you'll be casting this pretty often. Next is Combat Prayer. This is our main burst heal, as well as providing a good amount of buffs. This Restoration Staff skill is one of the best tools in a healer's arsenal. There's a reason that this is such a staple skill on nearly every healer build. Next is Budding Seeds. This will be our main AoE heal, and it's a great one at that. On top of being an AoE heal, it's also a burst heal and offers a unique synergy, all in one single skill. This is a great way to keep our teammates topped off. Next is Energy Orb, a very strong AoE heal from the Undaunted line that can also provide a great synergy to restore some resources. Whether it's a heal check or throwing it at a tank, this is a very versatile tool for healers. Next is Radiating Regeneration. Our other fantastic heal over time, this Restoration Staff skill will contribute towards keeping our teammates topped off, as well as keeping a very high uptime on Spell Power Cure's Major Courage buff. And finally, for our ultimate, we will be using Aggressive Warhorn. Arguably the best support ultimate in the game, this Assault Line ultimate will give your team both a buff to their max resources as well as a substantial damage buff via Major Force for 20 full seconds. And that's it for skills. Since we only have 1 bar, we only had 1 bar's worth of skills to cover. So lastly, let's go over our sets, traits, and enchantments. For our body pieces, or in other words, our chest, hands, legs, belt, and shoes, will want Spell Power Cure. If you've been around the channel for a while, or even just been a healer in ESO for a while, you'll know that Spell Power Cure is a staple set for healers. Found in the White Gold Tower dungeon, this set will grant you and your party Major Courage, giving y'all a hefty amount of weapon and spell damage anytime you overheal them. The weight will be all light, and the enchantments will be max magicka for extra scaling and sustain, and the trait will be Divines for the Mundus Stone boost. I will say though, like I always like to mention, I also enjoy running the infused trait on the big armor pieces, or in other words, the pieces that have a bigger enchantment bonus on them. For our quote-unquote back bar, but it's actually our Restoration Staff, shoulders, 1 ring, and necklace, trust me, it'll make sense, you'll want to use Powerful Assault. I know the placements of those things seem a little weird, but with Oakensoul taking up one of our ring spots and us not having a back bar, we gotta get a little creative, so feel free to just copy those placements. Purchasable in the Imperial City for Telvar or in Guild Traders for gold, Powerful Assault will grant you a unique damage buff whenever you cast a skill from the Assault skill line, or, in our case, Echoing Vigor. The damage buff it grants isn't incredibly strong, but it is unique, meaning it can stack with any named damage buffs such as Major Courage from Spell Power Cure. For the jewelry, you'll want the Arcane trait for extra magicka, and you can use either spell damage or magicka recovery for the enchantment, or even a combination of the two. For our Restoration Staff, you'll want the Powered trait for the extra healing, and I tend to use either the Absorb magicka enchantment or the Weapon damage enchantment, but I mean honestly, you can just kinda use whatever enchantment you want. And this seems like as good a place as any to talk about our mythic item, the Oakensoul Ring. Like we've mentioned previously, this will take up one of your ring spots, and it will make it so that we can't bar swap while giving us a ton of permanent buffs. You can find this through the antiquity system, and I'd recommend just looking up a guide to see exactly where all the leads are. Honestly, they weren't too hard to grind out. I think I was able to get them all in under a day, if you've got like a weekend off or whatever. The trait and enchantment suggestions will be the same as the powerful assault jewelry. And finally, this is normally where I'd talk about our monster set, but with this build, we actually won't be able to have a full monster set. Since Powerful Assault is taking up our shoulder spot, this build will just have one piece of the monster set, meaning we'll only be paying attention to the first line when choosing our item here. The most common recommendation that people will talk about for healers is Magma Incarnate. You could also talk about Slime Craw as well, since they both give fantastic bonuses. Truthfully, I don't think it matters that much. I just threw on one piece of Symphony of Blades since I already had it available on this character. It gives us some extra healing, so that's nice. Oakensoul also gives a decent bonus with some extra Magicka recovery if you feel like you need it and you happen to have that one on you already. Which one you choose kind of just comes down to your personal preference and what you feel like the build may still be missing a little bit of. Trait and enchantment recommendations will be the same as the rest of the armor. In terms of weight, we'll want this helmet to be heavy. Since we have a piece of Powerful Assault in our shoulder spot, like we mentioned, and that is medium, having our monster helmet be heavy will give us the full Undaunted passive bonus. Okay. And I do believe that should be it for the 1-bar healer build. I'll keep the outro short so this video doesn't run too long, but I think we are going to be taking a little break from build videos for a while. I've got some other exciting things that I'm really ready to try out and talk to you guys about, and some cool, unique things that I think will be a lot of fun. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you ever want to work your way up to a 2-bar healer build, I've got a few videos over some really good ones on my channel to check out. Finally, think all I've got left to say is that I've been Doc. Take care of yourselves, be good to others, don't forget to drink some water, and I will catch y'all in the next one. By the way, Future Doc here. Thanks, Past Doc. Future Doc just wanted to let everyone know that we just hit 1,000 subs as of the time of, getting ready to post this, which is like insane to me. I'll have the 1,000 sub video out later this week, but I just wanted to throw that in there at the last possible second. So, again, take care of yourselves, be good to others, drink water, I think is what I said, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. For real this time.